Hello, Renee Flamont here. You guys, this one was tricky. It was tricky for me, and it took me a lot of viewing and working this out for me to understand exactly what a trauma bond is. It sounds like what it is, so you think, sure, I understand that. But what I couldn't wrap my brain around is why I was stuck there, the bond part. Let's unpack it. When you look up trauma bonding, and it's vital you understand because you will never break, it is a very hard addiction to crack. It is very hard to break away from, but the first step in doing it, and you will never do it unless you understand it. So to educate myself is how I ended up breaking this bond. You guys know I like to give you things that help you turn a corner and break away if you so feel like you need to at this time. The trauma bond, when you look up trauma bond, they refer to 7 phases, okay? And they look a lot like the cycle of narcissistic personality disorder in itself. Starts out, guess what? You can't be trauma bonded to someone unless you have that feeling for them. And they come at you. We've already discussed the first 4 phases in the videos in the past week or two. The very first phase is love bombing, in which phase they will successfully, hopefully for them, accomplish phase 2, which is getting you to trust them, getting you hooked on that. They want to hook you in with that love bombing so that you now feel safe, secure, you trust them. You trust them. They love bombed you. We're not to phase 3 yet, which guess, take a guess. Devalue. They start to criticize you right when they know that you feel safe. And we talked about why they devalue you, right? We talked about the many reasons they devalue you. It's about power. Everything they do is about power over you, control over you, their subject, right? So they're going to start to devalue you right when you have been love bombed and you feel cushy safe and nothing can touch you. You are a unit. They're going to crush that with the devalue. And what happens during the devalue brings us to phase 4. Gaslighting. We just talked about that. There's a lot of it. Making you feel nuts. Making you not feel validated in your concerns. Making you not feel even like you should be questioning their actions that they did with the devalue after they gained trust through love bombing. It's all part of their cycle. And what you end up getting to, if you are in a relationship with a narcissist, you know this, you get to phase 5 where you just submit. You resign. You're exhausted. How many times has that happened? There's an argument ensuing. It's midnight. You've been talking to him for 4 hours. My pronoun is he. Insert your own. And you're just spent. So you go to bed. You wake up the next morning. How do you want your eggs? You resign yourself to trying to hold on to the cockamamie story they gave you as an excuse. You decide with your actions to accept the cockamamie excuse that they gave you as an excuse. The cockamamie story they gave you as an excuse. You resign yourself. You're like, whatever. You're not ready to leave them. You can't picture leaving them because you're hanging around when you resign and submit, waiting while you're waiting for them to show you phase 1. We hang in there. We know that they are such a good person. If you just knew them like I did, if you saw how he was with me, and you're thinking of phase 1 and 2, when they were love bombing you and gaining your trust, that's what you're thinking of. That's why you're hanging in there. You're hoping one day to see that person again. And the thing is, when you're doing that, when you're in that phase of it, resigning and submitting, you're losing all sense of self, which is phase 6. When you're going against the grain, in our next video on cognitive dissonance, we'll take this into its detail. But when you're going against the grain of what you believe, that causes a dissonance within you. A loss of yourself is what's happening in phase 6. You're choosing to remain. You're choosing to stop arguing. You're exhausted, depleted. Absolutely. Can I understand it? Absolutely. Do we all do it? 100%. And now what that creates is phase 7 is about addiction. And about 350 videos ago, and maybe 400, like I've done it twice, videos on the addiction part of it, okay? So what the narcissist does for you is, in the love bombing and the establishing trust, they've made you addicted to the endorphins that you felt, the dopamine that you felt. Those are chemical things that happen in your brain. Chemical. And when they are devaluing you and you're fighting it out and you finally submit, what they're making you do with the fighting, and nobody likes to hear this, but you do get addicted to the cortisol and the adrenaline that happens in the fighting stages. You don't realize it. I'm not saying you're walking around trying to pick a fight. When people say that, that's what they think it means. I don't want to fight. What do you mean? I did. I knew it. I admitted it about myself. I didn't realize it about myself. That's why I didn't understand trauma bonding. Because, of course, in my mind and heart, I'm not wanting to fight. I was addicted to that adrenaline, that drama, that cortisol. It's a thing in you have to break out of. So here you are with this person. They set you up where they devalue you and love bomb you. And they devalue you, and it's a swing. Depending on what they feel like making you feel about yourself and the relationship, they will come on strong. They're the best love bombers in the business. And then when you're getting too big for your britches, or they don't like something you said, or they just are in the mood to have their ego tripped, they're going to come along and they are going to devalue you and bring you right back to earth. So they've imposed upon you this love bombing that gives you the chemicals of dopamine and endorphins. You're on cloud 9. You can't believe how you feel. And then they're going to devalue you, fight with you, argue with you, lie to you, gaslight you, make you think you're insane. All of those things are wrapped up in adrenaline and cortisol. So phase 7, that addiction is tough. It's an emotional addiction. That's what they call it. These aren't my phases. They're like, if you look it up, these are like very common. You can find these. But that emotional addiction took me a long time to understand. Once I did, then I started to pay attention. So when an argument would happen, when something bad would happen, when an infraction would happen, I stopped myself from getting emotionally invested in the argument. Very tough. You're like, how do you do that? I started realizing and looking at it once I started reading, okay, are you deep down inside in a place that you don't even know wanting this argument right now? Obviously I did if I remained in them for 5 hours. That's behavior I had to look at. Because I know a lot of people that would never argue with somebody senselessly for 5 hours. They would walk the other way and say, goodbye, you're not worthy of me. See you later. That trauma bond where I was waiting and waiting and waiting to see, I call him the 5% guy that you meet in the love bombing. That's only 5% of your person. There's a video on that too in my list of 500. But that 5% guy, 95% of him is what you saw in Devalue. That's the real them when their mask came off. So you're waiting for the 5% guy and you are trauma bonded to this person because of those reasons. So until you recognize all of them, pick them apart, dissect them, and challenge yourself to say, you know what? I am. When that fight comes along, you might say, absolutely not. I'm not addicted to the adrenaline. I hate fighting. I believe you. I agree with you. I said the same thing, and I believe the same thing. It's not something we're conscious of. Somebody fights with you, love bombs you, fights with you, it creates an addiction cycle that we're not even aware it's happening. So I'm trying to do the first step they say in breaking a trauma bond, which some people have referred to as stronger than addictions of other kinds. A trauma bond to a person is very powerful, sometimes more than real love can. Now, you know, real love, the difference is somebody wouldn't go through these manipulative steps. A real partnership wouldn't do that. They would love you, respect you, lift you up, make you feel loved, make you feel special. The rest of it just doesn't happen. Can you picture a relationship without the rest of it? Picture a really good friend of yours where there's been no problems, or a family member with whom you're close and you just get along seamlessly, and you recognize that other than disagreements, we all have those, we're human beings, but other than that, you got nothing and they're good to you. That's what real love relationship looks like. It shouldn't come with the trauma bond, which results from devaluing, disrespecting, being disloyal, committing an infraction, and then using that to keep you there. They're going to make you think you're crazy for thinking it. And then you start to doubt yourself and you lose all sense of self. It really is the same cycle that they go through in the relationship with us. They count on that trauma bond. They don't know what it's called, but they count on, I got her right where I want her. She's not going anywhere. It might sound like that. Or your narcissist might come to you and say, where are you going? You know you can't be without me. Where are you going to go? And I don't mean this. They mean it like your mind. They think they've got you. I love nothing more than when I see someone break out of an abusive relationship. A lot of people don't like the word. I try not to use the word abuse or victim. People don't like them. But clinically, medically, we're called victims. They're called abusers. That's what it is. So I love seeing a woman or man break away from an abusive relationship, and you see the light in their eyes like they've seen it. And it becomes clear to them. And they said, I can't stay here anymore. I can't stay here anymore. You're not good for me. Guess what? They found their sense of self, and they put their value now above the guy or gal abusing them. You found your sense of self, which phase 6 is you lose your sense of self. So to recapture that, you first have to recognize the trauma bond that exists. And it could be anybody, not just a partner. Those peripheral narcissists, they can create a trauma bond as well. That's what keeps you coming back. Oh, I'll just try one more lunch to them. We haven't had a fight in a while. Let me just try. And inevitably, every time you're with somebody, even if it's a narcissistic personality disorder person, they will eventually say something, do something, get a dig in, something to devalue you, and boom, you're right back to. It makes you feel like that when somebody devalues you, right? And that's what these skilled technicians in doling out these slashes to people can do. So I caution you, and I ask you to look at the relationships in your life. And if you recognize that, why do I feel so, this person can make you feel so good, and then they can make you feel so bad. That's the relationship in a nutshell that will make people stay in it because they're waiting for the good. That's the trauma bond. They've traumatized you. They've bonded you. They've traumatized you. They've bonded with you, to you. You've bonded to them. They made sure of it. But they've traumatized you. It's a trauma bond. It really took me a long time to understand. I hope this clarifies it for you. I don't want anyone. It can help you. It makes you stuck. That's why I love when I see somebody break free. It's a very hard thing to break away from, and you can feel stuck. Why can't I leave this person is kind of how it feels. What is my problem? Why can't I just leave this person? Because they made you feel so good in those beginning stages. You're holding out and hoping that that good person will return. That good person wasn't real. They were the 5% guy that had a mask on that was pretending to you to be a certain way to ensnare you. It was a put on. It was fake. No, you don't understand. You had to see and hear that. I know. We all know. I do. Yup, I know. I know, because new people going through it can't imagine that the love bombing was fake. They're still wrapping their brain around that first phase, that was fake. But it was. If you are with a person with it, it was. So you need to then, once you accept and realize all of that, take a look at the devaluation phase and how you felt. You were probably just begging for them. What happened to you? Where are you? Where's the guy I met? Where's the guy who took me on the carousel? He's gone. Once you see the truth of the person, he's gone, because he knows you see it. They don't like when their mask starts to slip off. And that's when they're going to go off wayward and try to find somebody, because now they need their ego stroked. And you can say the words all you want. Once they know you see them for the real, not good person they are, I almost said a really bad word, then they need fresh eyes who revere them and laugh at their jokes and believe their stories and trust them and think they're God. That's what they want. So they're going to then go out, more devalue comes. It's a vicious cycle. I want you to keep your eyes open for this. And this leads us right into cognitive dissonance, which we're going to get into the next video. I thank you for watching. Please go ahead and hit sub, like, and share, and I'll see you next time.